Hello, John Talley here with Partzilla.com. Today I'm going to show you how to replace the front wheel bearings on our 2016 Yamaha YXZ1000R. It is a fairly involved process, and there is a special tool that you're going to need to pick up if you're going to do this correctly. Also, we are diving in fairly deep, so you want to look at our exploded parts diagrams. That's going to give you a really clear picture of how everything comes apart, and more importantly, how we're going to put it all back together. But I'm going to walk you through step by step how we're going to do this. Now, you notice on the exploded diagram there are 2 bearings per side, so you need to order accordingly. Also, the inner and the outer seals, they're actually different part numbers, so make sure you order those individually. Now that you've got your parts in hand, we can get started. All right guys, let's get started. First thing we want to do is take off the axle nut, and that is a 32 millimeter. I'm using an air impact, but if you don't have one, have somebody hold the brakes, and that should be enough to break it loose. We're going to go ahead and pull off the brake caliper assembly just at the bracket itself. The brake caliper bracket is held in by a 14 millimeter bolt. One up here at the top, another one down at the bottom. What we're going to do next is just take off this one bracket, and then we're going to bring up the caliper and just zip tie it to that front bracket. There we go. Next, let's get the steering ball joint off, or control arm, whatever you want to call it. Should be a cotter pin down here. And the castle nut is a 19 millimeter, and then there will be a washer up under that. Make sure you don't misplace it. Unscrew the castle nut to where it's even with the bottom of the joint. Then we're going to get a soft blow hammer, tap it, hopefully that'll knock it out of the knuckle. But don't remove it until we do that, because sometimes a soft blow will not do it. You may have to go with the regular steel one, as I was saying. Did I get it? Yep, it did. Good way to keep this together. Go ahead and put the washer and the castle nut onto the end of it. 1, you won't lose it. 2, lessens the risk of damaging it. Now let's go ahead and get this cotter pin out of the way. Get that lower castle nut removed. Yeah. All right, stop there. Let's go ahead and take off the lower shock mount. That's a 14 on one side and a 17 nut on the other. Make life a little bit easier, getting creative with a couple of bungee cords to hold the shock up out of the way. What I'm going to do is I've got another nut with the same thread pitch and diameter. I'm going to put it on the end of it, and then I can hit this with a hammer. Otherwise I'd be marring the edges of the castle nut, because it's going to take a little bit more than just a gentle tap to break this loose. What I'm doing here is just lifting it up and putting it on a jack stand. That way I have more distance. I can swing the hammer to hit the nut, and hopefully this will give me enough distance where I can hit it hard enough to shock it loose out of the hub itself. I think that finally got it. I've deformed it to the point the socket won't go on it anymore. Now you see why I put a different nut on there. Had I used a harder metal that wouldn't deformed so easily, it probably wouldn't have been a problem. But I didn't, so we're going to try to use the impact to get that nut off. A castle nut would not have survived this. But it's clear now. Now let's get this out of the way. See if we can get this to pull through the hub. There we go. Now let's hold the whole shooting match up so we can get that axle out. It wasn't absolutely necessary to remove that from the front differential. I just didn't want it in my way. So a couple of pulls and it was out of there. Another cotter pin. Now let's go ahead and get off this other castle nut, and then our entire hub will be out of the way. What I did just then was pinched the steering arm mount up against the upper control arm. That way I was able to get enough leverage to get it to release. So what we're going to do next is reattach this bungee to the shock, get it held up out of the way. We're going to take off the circlip on the top of the ball joint and then drive it out through the upper A arm. Tell you what, where we can get a solid hit on this, I'm going to go ahead and remove the shock. Yahtzee! Go ahead and get this guard out of the way, and this is held in by 3 4mm bolts. As you can see, I've removed the ball joints, although it's not necessary for this particular video. That's actually part of a different video, and if you need help replacing yours, why don't you check out this unit's playlist and I can walk you through that process. So let's get it clamped down in our vise, go ahead and get the seals out, and we should be able to just use a flat blade screwdriver and walk them out. One. There's 2. All right, guys, we've got the seals out, and that was the easy part. But now here comes the tough part. We need to get those bearings pulled out, and the only way I know how to do it is to use a blind bearing puller, and it needs to be a high-quality one, which I have. Now, granted, it's kind of pricey. Now, I've done a little bit of research, and it is possible to use a drift or a punch, reach down into the hub, catch this edge on the back side or the bottom side of that collar, and then hopefully drive it out. That is a long shot. If you're really patient, you might be able to drive it through, but you may end up just driving that inner race out. This is a sure thing, although like I said, it's kind of expensive. So it's what I'm going to use. It's the right way to do it. If you have to use just a punch, all I can say is wear a pair of glasses and be very careful because you don't want it shattering and flying back up in your eyes. But that being said, let me get this thing set up, put it down in the vise. All I'm doing is taking this edge and getting it just on the inside of that bearing. I'm going to expand it out and hopefully be able to pull it through. I just need to find that edge right there. The good part is, once the bearings are out, then you can use the press to pop them right back in. Really easy at that point. There she comes. One bearing. Here's our collar. Don't forget to put that back in. But doing this again, I can take it out of the vise and show you where this has to be set up as far as the depth goes for it to grab and extract it. That's where she needs to grab, right there, just on the inside of the bottom of the inner race. That should do it. Let's go. Makes it look easy, doesn't it? She's out. So let's get this cleaned up, take it over to the press, and drop those new bearings in. She's cleaned up. We've picked out a driver that's going to make contact with the outer edge, very important, and that's the one we're going to use to drive in both bearings. Getting ready to press in the first bearing. We're going to do the outside one first. And it probably doesn't make any difference, but it's just standard practice for me. I usually have the stamped areas of the bearing, maybe have the model number on them from the manufacturer, have that facing out. Does it really make that much of a difference? Probably not, just the way I like to do things. bottomed out. Now, flip it over, take that out. Don't forget your collar and our other bearing. Touchdown. Good to go. Let's get our seals pressed in. We'll start with the outside seal first. Of course, this is the little bit smaller one. And what we're going to use to drive this on is just a collar that fits around that edge, but drives in on the outside edge of the seal itself. It'll basically go down flush with the outside edge of the hub itself. And I think we're pretty much there. That looks like it. Flip it over, and then we can do the inside. What we'll do is set it up here to where it's on the inside of that new seal and doesn't damage it. I probably should have done the inside first, but don't make the same mistake I did. That should do it. Last order of business is to go ahead and pack in some grease around the seal, around that edge. Both sides. Now at this point you should be ready to go ahead and reinstall it back on the machine. However, I still have to reinstall the ball joints. So once I get that done, then we can get it reinstalled. All right, we're going to go ahead and get our castle nut tightened down on that upper ball joint. We're going to take it at 51 foot-pounds. We're going to go ahead and get it snugged down with this. Now you may have to force this down into the knuckle to get it to hold on to it, because it's spinning. Now what I'm doing here is I'm just going to seat the ball joint into the knuckle so it doesn't spin. So once it actually bottoms out, it's game over. It's just getting it there can be a little bit tricky. Gotcha. Maybe a little bit tricky holding this still. So we're going to temporarily put the steering arm through so I can get this torqued. We can probably leave it in there. There we go. Reattach this line. Let's hold this up to reinstall the axle. There it is. Now, put a little bit more grease on the end of our half shaft so it doesn't wear out those inner seals. And in the event we ever have to replace the bearings on this, it'll come out and not be frozen. There. Starting to come together, guys. Starting to come together. So kind of the same process down here. We needed it to set in place. Go ahead and get this castle nut started. Then we're going to bring it up, put some pressure on this where it's pushing it up in there. See if that's got enough pressure to hold it. Got it. Go ahead and do 51 on that one. Then go ahead and get out our cotter pins. All right, doesn't quite line up on that hole, so we're going to move it just a little bit more. That should do it. And let's go ahead and get in our top one. That's it. Now we can go ahead and remount the shock. It's a 17 on the nut side and a 14 on the bolt side. 47 coming up. One more time down here. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and torque down the tie rod bolt. 29 foot-pounds on this. There we go. And it does have a cotter pin. And let's go ahead and get our shield back on. And it's just held in with 3 4mm Allens. Next, let's put some grease inside of our hub on the splines and also on the surface area right here so it doesn't destroy that seal too quickly. Keep the grease off the brake disc though. We'll go ahead and put this on just hand tight. Alright guys, we're getting ready to torque down this bolt, and it takes 268 pounds, and there's no way the braking system can hold it by itself. So there's only 2 ways I know of. Either A, to put a breaker bar through here and let it go against the ground, which is what we're going to do, or you can finish putting the machine together, take out that center cap, lower it down with the wheel in place, and then you can get the torque on it. But we're going to use a breaker bar to get this done. And actually my torque wrench only goes to 260, but we're going to call that good. Go till it clicks and then flex it just a little bit more to get those last 8 in there. So now we're going to just stake it in place. There we go. We are getting close. We're down to the caliper now. Get these bottomed out and then we'll torque them to 35 foot-pounds. One left to do. Well, alright guys, that's going to wrap this one up. Only thing I have left to do now, or you have left to do now, is just to remount the tire and wheel. But as you can see, I still have a lot more work to do, so we're not going to worry about that right now. Well listen, if you need these parts for your machine or anything else, why don't you come see us at Partzilla.com and we can get you taken care of. If you have any questions or comments, why don't you leave them in the section below and I'll do my best to answer them. And hey, if you like what you see, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you can keep up with whatever I'm working on next. We just want to say thank you for shopping here with us at Partzilla, and we will see you in the next video. Y'all have a great day.